David Kittle, good to have you joining us today. Great seeing you in Nashville last week at the TMC conference, which was, for all that our listeners, was a complete success. It was really good.
Yeah, it was. It was good to see you as well, David. To see you face to face, have good conversations, and after business was done, to even share an adult beverage with you upstairs. So we had
We did a little of that, yeah. And we did not take it to excess, in case anyone's wondering. There
no,
was
just
no
one.
slurring or a lot of good time. That's for sure. That's for
But it
sure.
was a success. It was right there. It's going to be in the top two or at least the top three attendance we've had in our 10 years, which both speaks well for TMC and for our members that want to get out and collaborate in the collab labs. And of course, we had some amazing speakers there. CFP director, we had FHFA, had people from HUD, and Julia was there. Just great insight and great feedback. So thanks for being.
It's great to have been there. So, Kittle, there were a lot of other things that were going on at the conference. One of the things was Brian Montgomery. Again, I've heard him do this 2 or 3 times because it was 9/11. Monday was 9/11 a week ago today. And he talked about what he experienced being a part of the administration that was on Air Force One. Every time I hear that, it's still so moving. And it just brings us back to just how serious of an event that was. And it seems like more and more truth seems to come out, trickle out a little bit more on that type of thing. Any thoughts as you think about Brian's speech?
He updated it again. Brian's such a good friend personally and of the Mortgage Collaborative. And so we always bring him in on 9/11 as often as his schedule permits. And he was in charge of advanced planning for President Bush at the time. That was before he got involved at HUD. So he was there that morning in the school when they got the message. He was on Air Force One when they went to 2 different bases and went down below ground, as he said, into the situation rooms and that are supposed to survive a nuclear explosion. And as President Bush wanted to make his way back to Washington, D.C., much to the chagrin of the Secret Service, they didn't want him to go back. And then if you look at that famous picture that he put up, Bush with the fireman standing on the rubble with the megaphone, Brian's right down in front with the hard hat on. So this wasn't all hearsay and secondhand. He lived it. And it was all about, if you think about it, bringing the country back together. There were no Democrats, no Republicans. There were just Americans at the time. And we've certainly gotten away from that in the last 22 years. And so it was a refreshing talk. And he did a great job, as always.
It truly was. And there was, what surprised me is there were a lot of banks and credit unions there, as seen as a ratio more so than IMBs. Was that your observation? At least there were certainly a lot of more banks and credit unions present this time.
We're about 42% in our makeup of community banks and credit unions, along with the other part of the independent mortgage bank. So that's what makes TMC. We have a diverse membership. It's not just all one. And it continues to grow in all aspects, which is amazing. And we also have the highest ratio, we just do, of lenders to preferred partners. You go to some conferences now, and it's most all preferred partners. So when our preferred partners / vendors attend, our lenders show up. And so they have an opportunity to sell. So that's what makes our conferences as successful as they are. And we owe that to all of our members and certainly our staff at TMC.
Yeah, great, truly a great staff. It was such a good event. When you go back to the event, I want to talk a little bit about one of our new sponsors and someone that was there, and that's iEmergent. I continue to be so impressed with the business intelligence that comes out of this organization. Talk about your impression as you listen to them and present.
You and I stood there and talked to Bernard, and of course, this is a husband and wife team, right? So Laird was, just for a minute, she's the CEO, and Bernard's the COO. I knew what they did. So you really have a deep conversation. It's like they have the intelligence to tell a mortgage lending company where they should be involved in to try and get higher origination, not only in the state or the town, but I was amazed to learn from Bernard. They can dive all the way down into a neighborhood. This is the geographical area you should be targeting. And here are the realtors and builders you should be talking to. How valuable is that technology and information? So they just do a fabulous job. And we love the fact that they're one of our preferred partners.
And one of our sponsors. And now that they let you know who's doing business in what markets, whether it be LOs or realtors. They'll predict the amount of sales that community will be doing with a 90+% accuracy 2 years forward. So if you're trying to figure out where you're going to be doing business, how can you operate without a business intelligence tool like iEmergent? I don't know.
Think about what you just said. It's not where this is where you should be next month and go out and run and do it. It's 2 years in advance. And you're talking about you get in the Hall of Fame in baseball with a 300 batting average. This is 90%. So it's pretty darn good.
Pretty darn good. Pretty amazing. Well, this may be a good time for us to share what John Maynell has recorded for us. So without further ado, John Maynell, what do you got for us today from iEmergent?